Hey guys, it's Cyrus of Chaos. Today I'm here with Lorenzo Casertano, and we're going to be watching a bout between Mohamed Elsayed from Egypt and Sam Imrek from the US. Now, Lorenzo and I have known each other for a really long time. I think we've known each other since 2006 or 2007 or something. And I've always fenced saber competitively, but I used to represent the New York Athletic Club, which was primarily an epee club, and so that's how we started talking. Lorenzo used to do some bout analysis with me on my channel, although in those days it was through annotations on YouTube. I don't know if you how much you remember doing that, but he's been out of the game for a while, and when I realized he was back, we decided that we wanted to do something together in person. So I'm gonna let him introduce himself, and then we'll watch the bout together. So Lorenzo, it's good to see you again. Let's hear your perspective on all this.
Sure. So, like Andrew said, I'm Lorenzo. I fenced at the AC from when I came to Columbia in 2005 until I'm gonna say retired in 2014 because of, kids and life kind of situations. So I'm actually a physical therapist. I have a doctorate in physical therapy, and I just finished my Doctor of Education. So I have a second doctorate in movement science. So I'm very interested in coaching, in getting back into fencing. I haven't fenced in probably 10 years. I'm just kind of getting back into it this year and doing a little coaching. And one of the ways that I used to kind of have fun and get my brain working was to do bout analysis, which I'm sure a lot of us do. And I always think it's interesting to do it with someone else or like kind of talk to someone else about it too. So hopefully there's some utility here. Um, and yeah, there'll be some interesting stuff to talk about. And there's always a saber versus epee perspective, which I don't really think they're that different, actually. I think there are a lot of similarities there, despite the obvious differences. So I think it'll be really interesting to talk about.
I think one of the things that is very important is once you get to the high level, watching and even fencing the other two weapons can give you a different perspective on certain actions. And my counterattack was very well known for being extremely annoying, and that's something that I got from kind of adapting the flesh in epee.
Yep.
So there's certainly things that you can bring from one weapon into the other. You just have to kind of put some work and time into understanding the tactics and how those things can benefit you in your own weapon. But doing that, I think, can give you a really interesting second perspective that a lot of people in your own weapon can lack. So, and another interesting thing is that the two of us used to have the same coach. So we're gonna have a similar perspective on those things.
A lot of what I try to do when I watch fencing is just try to get a sense, first of all, of what each fencer likes to do, because all or most high level fencers, right, they kind of have their two or three things that they really like to do. I include myself in that. I include any of the Olympians. Like a lot of people just have their things they like to do and the way they like to steer the bout or where they want the bout to go. And usually the fight is who's going to win the fight for getting the bout to happen the way they want it to happen. And it's just really interesting to watch. I try to key in on differences or key things that each person does. The example back in the day was good old Tag had these kind of half step and like acceleration changes mid tempo that were very unique to him and extremely destructive to
Disruptive.
everybody else.
Yep.
And I thought were really key to like look at. I think I did a Luigi Mazzone one a while back, like it was in 2007 or something, and he actually just fenced in the veteran world champs, which is awesome. Um,
Ah,
he
I'm
had,
interested to
yeah,
see that.
he took top eight in the vet 50, I think. But he had like a very unique kind of Milanoli, funky French grip style to him that no one in the US had.
For sure.
And that steered about a certain way for himself. It's always, and these two fencers, like Sam Imrek and Mohamed Elsayed, definitely each have a pretty clear, more for Elsayed, I think, for me, but they both have a pretty clear way they want to steer bouts. Now, they could obviously say I'm wrong, but just from seeing, these are both French grip fencers. They fence super differently from each other, and both very different from someone like, say, Roman Canon. Very, very different.
Yeah.
And Imrek sometimes is choked up on it, and sometimes is pommeling at the beginning when he's on guard. And I can't tell why he does one or the other because he usually switches before anything actually happens. So it's unclear to me if he's trying to be deceptive or if it's just kind of a habitual thing. But anyway, let's see. The first part of the bout is kind of quieter than I expected, I think.
It could be a distance what did you say, disguise before? Or like he's trying to hide it?
It definitely could be, because I am definitely, if there's a French grip pommeler, I am definitely looking at their guard as we're coming on guard to see what they're doing. So he might be hoping that someone has seen one thing and he changes it, but
Mhm.
unclear to me. You'd have to ask him, because it's not consistent the exact same way. All right,
Sam, if you're
can
watching and you want to leave a comment, we would love to hear what you have to say. I know one of the things that he definitely does is he holds the epee like really far back and kind of leads his head in as a way to disrupt the other person's distance.
I got a lot. I got a lot to say about that. It's actually very, very smart to do that, and it drives me completely crazy whenever I fence anyone like that.
Mm, that's
You
funny.
want go for it if you want to start the video.
Okay, so I'm starting it at 0-0 in the video. I'm sorry, at the very, very beginning of the video, despite the fact that there's no actual fencing here, because there's an interesting interaction that does affect the fencing later. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna let the video play, even though this is not actual fencing, and just feel free to give us a little breakdown of what is going on here.
Yeah, so and Elsayed does this later in the bout too, and it's honestly pretty smart gamesmanship. He's kind of pointing to his epee and talking about how it's set up. Um, the Egyptians in general are very, very active and very, very gamesmanship oriented. Not in a negative way. They just very much want to get in your head, want to get you a little flustered, and want to kind of mess with the tempo of the bout so they're in control. And they're all extremely active. My good friend Yasser Mahmoud back in the day did the same thing, right? Just very, very, very active, very bouncy, very hard to read. But essentially anything they're doing outside of the bout, I think, is generally to control the tempo of the bout and pull it back to like kind of what they want.
Yeah, and I actually really like his fencing a lot. The way that he pushes and pulls the distance, I really like proactive fencing, and both of these guys are very proactive. So I was really excited to see this bout, and when it was happening, I definitely was going to watch this one for sure.
But at the beginning of the bout, I'll say Elsayed is not pulling nearly as much as he normally would. I think he's trying to get a sense. I don't know if he's fenced Sam Imrek before or how often, but I think he's being very cautious and respectful. I think he's not sure because he knows Imrek has very, very particular distance and timing. And Dwight, who's coaching him on the side, probably Dwight Smith probably has told him that too. He's probably taking his time to feel it out.
Hmm.
So Elsayed's definitely not doing a lot of body feints or a ton of movements. He's doing a little arm pulls, and same with Sam Imrek. He's kind of trying to throw him off a little bit, unclear. So here, Sam goes for an attack just to see what happens. I think Elsay is pretty comfortable and just very. I like the repost. I think it was through the legs, which was pretty fancy. But nothing too crazy there. I think just trying to feel it out. Sam's pretty far out of distance here, but likely trying to just pull a surprise and kind of see what would happen.
And I'll still point out he almost got that remise.
He did. And remising, look, remising is a huge part of epee in general and of the French grip especially, right? Just because someone parries you doesn't mean they can't hit you.
Yep.
You can't. Okay. So again, they're pretty far out of distance here. I would consider this pretty far distance for both of them. Little hand feints, little stuff, but nothing really too threatening here. That was a bigger hand feint that happened.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit more. Now they're getting a little more jumpy. So there's more playing with distance and kind of making each other unsure.
Looks
And
looks like Sam is looking for a way in.
yeah, so the main difference with why he is going to hit right there, I don't know if the timing's right on your side, but I paused the video. He went for short target. So he did not go deep to chest. He went to arm. And
Mm.
something with grip, if someone's going for a counterattack and you flesh at their arm, there's a higher chance you'll hit their arm as it's coming up. So changing the target was smart by Sam there. He kind of decided to go to a shorter target.
And the cost of that would be that it's just a little bit more high technique to be able to actually make that work, right?
A lower percentage, and certainly if you got pulled into a second intention, you're not going as deep, so you're kind of stuck in a little bit more of a middle, shorter distance as opposed to being close enough that's harder to hit you.
Right. So when
Uh,
you said it works against the counterattack, you mean like a full extension counterattack as opposed to like almost a stop hit on the way out or something, right?
Yeah, it exactly. So I think Elsayed is basically looking for just a straight double or just a straight kind of can I just hit you while you're attacking? And he's not pulling away too much. And so basically, as his arm comes up, the distance is shortening as Sam's going for it, right?
Hmm.
So go. This is something I've noticed recently. Just getting back into fencing is like people are going a lot more for these shorter targets, like top front of the shoulder and top of the arm, and it's generally quicker to hit there. But there is a little bit of risk involved. So to me, yeah. I mean, I don't know if Sam hit him under the arm or as he went in, but he definitely went shorter there. So I'm gonna restart at
220.
20 is exactly where I am.
All right. Three, two, one, begin.
All right, here we go. So they're still feeling each other out here, right? And both of them play. Actually, pause for 1 second. I don't know if you remember a fencer named Rob Ria.
I do.
Yeah. So lots of drama there, I think, but not, I don't know very much about what happened to him. But he was an extremely frustrating and difficult fencer to fence against. And he did a very similar, very far arm back, French grip, super final timing kind of thing, right? When he went hard, but it was very hard to tell when. And a lot of what he did was distance masking. And Sam having his arm back and trunk forward gives him a lot of leeway in terms of you not knowing his actual target could be here, but it looks like it's here. So he's moving the body and the arm a lot. It's very hard to get a sense of distance when someone's doing that. So I think it's a very smart thing that he does.
Gotcha.
Um, Start up again.
Three, two, one, begin.
So
I
he's
don't.
definitely distance. And actually, I missed that touch.
Yeah, so let's go back a little bit. So let's go back to 231.
Cool. Some ads decided to play on my YouTube, so I'll watch on yours.
Okay. Ready, go. That looked like a remise around the parry as well.
Yep, yep. So I think that time instead of either he decided to go short and then remise, or he realized in the middle of his flesh, uh-oh, and pulled back and kind of pulled the remise out of it.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it was the second one.
yeah, and it's all distance masking at that point, right? It's all kind of like, when am I going to go? How far away am I? This to me is a very long distance, especially for Sam, who's a lot shorter. I think I'll say it's quite tall. Um, So it's interesting. Usually, I would think to be closer. So he's going from further. I don't know if he's giving himself more time, but against someone like Elsayed, that's actually pretty risky because Elsayed when he goes very full commit. And there's an ad on your side too, I
Yeah.
see. So I am at 245 whenever we come back.
Gotcha. I'd also like to just point out that between the three weapons when you're filming, epee, in my opinion, is actually the most difficult weapon to film because when I'm reffing saber, I try to get like slightly at an angle behind the referee, and referees don't move too much in saber, and because most of the actions happen in the middle, you're
Yeah.
mostly going to get a pretty good view of what's going on. However, in epee, you never know which end of the bout the actions are going to take place on it, and it will largely depend on who will win the first few touches. And so I will just kind of pick a side randomly, and if the person starts to take the lead, then it means the person will be, or both the fencing will happen more on my side of the bout, but at the cost of the referee constantly walking in front of me. So you'll see the camera position like jiggle a lot as the referee gets close, and that's because I'm switching my camera grip. I'm holding my camera like this or like this often. And it would be really funny if someone took a picture of me doing that because oftentimes I'm like half in a stranger's lap, like trying to film something, and everyone
All right.
understands like who I am and what I'm doing, but it just must look very funny. But that's the reason that sometimes even I think that this is not particularly well filmed. So just an apology.
It's hard to film. Although I will take issue actually with that with the if they're ahead, it'll probably end up on their end because in this bout that doesn't happen, and
You're
it's
right, it
for
does
I
not. But
for a very
quite often it does.
no, you're definitely right, but it's for a very specific reason, which is Al Sayed style, I think. I'm at 244 also, so 3, 2, 1, go. Um, so still not a ton of activity. definitely, Sam commanding some respect there, hitting on remis, hitting on straight. So Elsayed is going more towards the middle of the strip already. You notice he doesn't want to sit back anymore, right? Now, is this where he,
Yes.
yep. I mean, you can let it run or you can fast forward. If he's
So
not wrong.
we're gonna let it run just to explain what's going on. So what's happening here is there is a rule in the rule book that says your epee is not allowed to have more than a 1 centimeter bend, and and I think it's the same in foil, and in saber it's a 4 centimeter bend. So he's saying that there is too much of a bend in Sam's blade, and it may look pretty straight, but there actually is more than 1 centimeter of bend there. So Elsayed said before he wanted to test on the table, and that's where you see if there's more than a centimeter of arc under the epee, it's supposed to be a yellow card.
Yeah, and he is not wrong at
There,
all.
and there's
A big
clearly more than 1 centimeter of bend here.
Is it a big deal? You could argue he gets some angulation from the blade to do that. Do I actually think Elsayed cares that much? No, I don't. I think
It's just a
this is
disruption tactic.
disruption and smart gamesmanship. He's not wrong. He's allowed to request this. Would I be annoyed? I would. And
That's the whole point.
that's extremely effective for Elsayed. Elsayed's style, now that you're going to see him become more active, because he's kind of gotten a gauge, I think, of Imrek's distance now, or he thinks he has. Um, he's going to become more active. And Elsayed's incredibly disruptive with body feints and kind of movements too. Some of his hops are up and down, some of his hops are forward and back. His arms in, out, in, out. And so in epee, the instant, and I've noticed this especially coming back after like 10 years of not fencing, I'm way more hesitant than I used to be. Any lack of surety or like, lack of confidence in what you're doing, you're going to get hit, especially against French grip. French grip is very all or nothing when they go a lot of times, right? And if they get in your head and if you're going, oh, I don't know, should I not? By the time you're thinking that, you're getting hit, right? And this is Elsayed's tactic with the extreme activity and just movement. He mixes first intention, like one tempo actions, with very deceptive second intention counterattacks and makes it really, really, really hard to get an idea. I don't know why the ref's going and talking to Dwight here.
He's going and
Uh,
talking to Dwight because Dwight is asking if there's any card for this, and the referee said no,
got it. Okay.
which I'm pretty sure that there actually should be a card.
Yeah, I actually don't remember the rule. That would be pretty significant, but I guess Dwight's decided it's not enough to get super Dwight about it.
Right, exactly.
Um, I
Super
say that with
Dwight.
I say that with all the affection in the world. I love Dwight, but if he's gonna get heated, usually he gets pretty heated. So all right, so starting again, we'll notice that they're definitely towards Sam's end of the strip now. I'll say it's like, all right, I've had enough of sitting at my end. Let's push you a little bit and see how you react to me. So he's still not moving forward and back a ton, but he's definitely not wanting to go too far into his end of the strip. And so that right there, yeah. So he gives a very strong kind of false first intention.
Pause, and I'm going to
He,
rewind while you're talking.
yep, I'll pause as well. So he preemptively gives a very strong first intention, like feint there. So basically, like, go ahead, try to counterattack me. I would have hit you there. And kind of puts Sam on notice, right? Like, hey, if you go there, I'm very hard to hit and I'm definitely recovering quickly. So the idea here is to say, hey, Sam, you're not going to know when to go because it could be that or it could be a counterattack anytime or it could be a full flesh. You don't know.
Right.
And he hasn't fleshed yet, so Sam hasn't gotten a good feel for his distance yet.
One of the other things that I also think is really interesting about these situations is when Elsayed goes like this, you either deal with it by going into it or you deal with it by going away from it. And in Saber, something that's very, very important is if you go away from it, how far away from it do you go? If you go too
Yeah,
far away, you're out of a threatening distance and you lose a lot of your options. And so Sam does move away here, but not very much, like just enough to abate the pressure, which
right.
is one of the interesting distance things I was saying to you before. And then
Yep.
immediately afterwards, Sam comes in with not a duck fake, but a big fake of his own. And El Sayed does exactly the same thing. He moves away from it right here, but not very much, and is right back in a position where he can threaten again. So just
Yeah.
those little distance games that they're doing, I think that that's really interesting, especially because in Saber, the thing that we think about most is the distance.
And I mean, I would argue, and as I've been coaching a little bit, and the understanding of distance and missing by that much is crucial.
Mhm.
So I don't want to lose the opportunity. However, Sam, I think, does here want to take over the pressure a little bit again, say, no, I can go. The important thing for Elsayed here is that he manages a double, whereas before the last two flushes, there were single lights. So this is on Elsayed's terms, and he's basically made it like, I'm in the middle of the strip, and I'm thinking forward, not defending. So it's hard here because Sam doesn't get a single light, and he has before. So for Elsayed, I think this is okay, I've kind of gauged with these feints and with this counterattack, I think I have a sense of when he's going to go. Is what I think he's basically trying to do here. He's like, I've defended enough. Let me push now, and let me see what happens when I do that. And he's gotten a gauge of that as well now.
Something else interesting that happens here, and you'll see this a lot in the bout, is when Sam starts to go, Elsayed pulls his arm back like this, but leaves his body in the way so that he can like withdraw his arm but be able to counterattack quickly. And he actually does it twice here. So Sam goes, he kind of withdraws his arm and then still sticks it out. And the reason he's doing that is to try to make his body just a little bit farther away. And I saw several of his bouts during the day, and he was giving people absolute fits with that action, which I think is
Because
really cool.
yeah, so normally I try to read distance from, I was taught not to read from the blade because the blade can be absent, but the body is not. That's a very old style of fencing where it's very, very static. Unfortunately, for someone against someone like Sam, Imrek, or Mohamed Elsayed, they do so much body feinting that it's actually just very hard to get a gauge ever because the feet and trunk are independent, and the arm. So they're very, very good both at masking distance and kind of making you unsure of when to go, making you look dumb when you go at the wrong time. I haven't fenced either, but I guarantee at this point I would have an absolute nightmare with either. This particular style gives me fits, as you said.
Oh,
So
that was close.
yeah, so that is a warning shot of I will go straight and you cannot get too close to me.
And
And
this is
this
the
is
first time either of them has gone for the foot, right?
yeah, so I want to pause here actually, because this distance is it got closer now. But that foot feint by El said that was frightening.
Yeah, I'm gonna
And
go back and rewatch that while you're talking.
yeah, go for it. So it's basically off the line, hey, careful. And Sam has no choice but to react and get the hell out of there. He has no, it's very good job getting out of there.
Oh, that
But
was close.
full thrust. I'll say it's safe because he knows Sam has no choice. He's not going to be able to overtake the attack there because he has to get
Mhm.
out. So it's a warning shot. And now look at this distance being relatively long because he's basically shot a warning shot there of, hey, don't get close to me. I will go. And that's hard, right? That's hard when you're playing a distance game, is if you don't know what your opponent's distance is either. And then another one of those. Now that was not as committed and is definitely more of a feint. Now let's see here. Oh, I can actually see the slow-mo really well, so that's good. Let's
Good.
watch. I'll say it's doing a little bit of hopping back and forth, but not really gaining or losing a ton of distance here.
That's the
So,
arm back body thing that I was talking about.
yep, this is absolutely frightening because now he's close, but you have no idea where he's going, and Elsayed's in control of this timing. This is all Sam is reacting purely and not really sure how to react.
Foot, go for the foot.
Yeah. Let's see. I forget what he actually does here, but essentially he's never going when you think he's going.
Gotcha.
Right.
I think this was one light for Sam. Is that right?
I actually don't remember.
It was a
I watched
double.
again this morning, but yeah. But again, this is kind of doing things on El Sayed's terms, right? He's controlling the bout, and you'll hear Sam's coach later talk about that when they're further into the bout. So a lot of this bout to me is about strip management, like where do we want to be? So yeah, El Sayed went back and just didn't love the idea, but he's kind of going to let it happen a little bit here. I think because he can tell Sam's a little jumpy, and he wants to, I think, see if he can, yeah. And so there, if you want to rewind and we'll rewatch that, it's a very, very, very good example of what just happened. So now he's made Imrek a little bit uncomfortable, and Imrek wants to take over the bout again. So Elsayed's going to pull a beautiful second intention repost here, right? They're quite far, even though it's angled. It looks to me like they're quite far. He shows counterattack here. Shows another like counterattack. Go ahead, come in. Sam decides that's when he's going to go, and that's a second intention repost, right? So he's basically shown and shown to kind of bait Sam into like, you can go, you can get me. and then second intention instead of a counterattack. So I don't know if that makes sense. He shows counterattack twice,
Yep, yep.
basically bait.
Yes,
Yeah.
he's expecting a counterattack there, but instead it's a parry. And I think that was one of the things in this bout that I saw that was kind of bothering him was that in a lot of Elsayed's other bouts, he was doing a lot of counterattacks to people, but in this bout, he started it with I think 3 or 4 parries. And if I remember correctly, after that, he kind of switched to doing more counterattacks. So just I think he went into the match expecting Elsayed to do more counterattacks and was prepared for that, and instead got hit with a bunch of parries right away.
Yeah, I think the first touch was also a kind of parry post through the legs, right? So yeah, I agree. And having that ability to do a second intention repost with the French instead of a counter. So now you basically said, I can counter you, I can hit straight, or I can parry. And that's definitely a little harder to manage. There's still 4-4, by the way. This is still a very, very like neck and neck bout.
Mhm.
But this is kind of a crucial moment where I think there's supposed to be a little bit of a separation soon. I think at 5-5 or 6-5, something like that.
And even
So
though the
let's
score is tied, it feels like one fencer has more control than the other. Would you agree with that?
Yes, once you've pushed it into the strip like Elsaya did, and you've gotten a second intention repost that clean, that's pretty not devastating. I won't say that, but it's definitely it puts you on guard even more because you're like, now I'm not sure. Can I attack? Can I not? Who's controlling this? Right? They both want to control. Sam controls by controlling the arm and reacting very very strongly and kind of making very small movements. Elsaya generally controls by massive changes in both vertical and horizontal
Eh,
distance.
eh.
They're different in that way. It's all a game of who is in control.
All
There's
right.
a lot, blade preparations that you see with a Hungarian fencer and a pistol grip or things like that. There's a lot more just distance management and like, am I just within one tempo distance? Am I just out? Where am I going to be?
There's that hunched over position.
Yep. And another false counterattack, or not false counterattack, but threatening, like, go ahead, if you go, I'll counter. And Elsayed's bouncing. He's pretty far distance here. He's taller and he's comfortable. So yeah, Sam goes for foot, and that's a little bit of a showmanship, like you weren't even close
Right, exactly. He
right
didn't
there.
react very strongly at all.
So his distance is very comfortable. You see that his distance is very comfortable.
When you see
And
someone, sorry, just as an aside, I've always wondered when you see someone doing something like this, and you know that if you go at this moment, they're most likely going to counterattack you. Why would you not go with some sort of like beat action as you start your flush?
so he's outside fencing absence of blade. So it's really hard to beat his blade at the right time. And if you get caught going for blade and then he goes, right, it's very hard to know. The ideal here would be to either be close enough that you take a one tempo straight to the chest, or that you have enough space to do a second intention blade take. But A, he's not giving you blade, and B, it's
There's
too
no
scrunched.
space.
There's no space to do that, and that's on purpose. Elsayed here is putting his finger up because he's kind of impressed that Sam pulled out a double because he felt like, oh, I've got this, and he's like, wow, he actually managed to pull that out. Again, he went to short target, not deep, right? So he's kind of like Sam's like, if I go deep, there's no way. I think he's going to shorter because he'll hit the arm as the counterattack happens.
You can also definitely see that Elsayed hits first here. Like you can see the light is coming on the machine before Sam's light is.
You
So
can see Sam,
that was very close to being one light against him.
yeah, and you can see if Sam had gone for deep chest target, there's no way, right? He kind of caught somewhere up in. It's hard for me to tell on the slow mo, but somewhere a little closer up. So Elsay is acknowledging. In my feeling is because he's like, wow, good job getting a double. I'm impressed you hit that. Um, I'm not sure if that's what he's thinking, but I thought that would have been single for Elsayed personally.
Gotcha.
He was in full control. All right, if you guys hear a cat in the background, that's my cat who wants attention. Yeah, this is the avoiding the ref issue. So Sam's a lot more hunched over here, but he's not pulling distance. It's the end of the period. That's right. Okay. He's just like full turtled. Like,
I
don't.
like I like the way that when he's on the back line, he just moves his body up a little bit when he's threatened.
Yep. 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 It was just him not want. Yeah, I mean, this is the end of the period. You don't want to risk anything.
Right.
And 5 is a good place to be, right? That's good.
So what would you tell each of them going into the 1 minute break here about things they want to do more of or things they want to avoid?
Elsayed, I think, is starting to get his feel. So I would ask him most likely, like, are you feeling the distance? Because it seems like you're in control. I would keep pushing. And I would tell Sam the same thing is like, if you're at the end of the strip, you don't have space to react the way you want. You need to push more to the middle. I don't know that I'd want to be at Elsayed's end of the strip either, because he's clearly comfortable at either extreme. But the middle would give Sam a little bit more space to maneuver and to do he's not really, at this point, to me, he's not really kind of, I can't think of the right word, but he's not masking his distance well. He's not maneuvering enough. He's a little more reactive. So I would tell him to be more active, and go more towards the middle of the strip with more space.
And not get pushed quite so much.
Yeah, yeah, to give it so that he's in control and he has more space. I would also tell him to get closer and hit, but that was Aladar's advice always, is get closer and flesh. Although in this case, it might be a good idea. I feel with So when I ask younger fencers, like, should you be closer or further from me when we're fencing, they always say further, and I almost always think that's wrong. Closer is usually, especially if you're shorter. I think being closer gives you a little bit more options. If you're further, you're pulled into two tempo or even like longer distance, and that's really hard in a bout like this. I think Sam probably needs to be a little bit closer and a little bit more gutsy in this
Okay.
particular.
Well, let's see how they both make changes here.
So let's see what they both do.
This referee's killing me.
Yeah, I know. He's in the way a lot. So Sam is holding the middle of the strip here, right? He's trying not to get pushed here.
Oh,
Now, this is beautiful, and I wanna go back and so no look at Sam's hand first. Look what he does.
chokes up.
Hooked up. He is clearly preparing, right? He's saying, okay, let's see if I can get Elsayed to go to my high target. Whoopsies. So he basically makes too big of a committed step forward, and Elsayed goes very strong first time. And I think Elsayed has been waiting for that moment to challenge. I don't think Elsayed saw the choke up and decided based on that. I don't think that it's too fast for that. But I think he was looking for a too overcommitted preparatory step by Sam, and he got it.
He really got him like the instant he steps in here. So as soon as Sam takes a step forward, right now, you can already see he's shooting down.
And so he's going before the foot's even planted. There's
Yep.
almost no way to get away from this, right? This is a classic in-foot tempo attack, is what the Hungarian pedagogy wants to say. Like, clear in-foot tempo. If you go right as the foot comes off, it's got to come down at some point. And if you turn it right, there's no way to change direction. And that's now 6-5 is a very different bout, especially with that touch, because now he's shown he can counterattack, and he's shown he can parry repost. He's shown he's not afraid to attack, and now he's going to hit you in prep. He might hit you in prep as well. So Sam's really got to take control back here. I love that touch.
Oh my God. Uh,
Yep. And so yeah, it's just, so I feel like Elsayed knows he has a touch to play with here, and he's confident. He's like, I'm just going to do it. This is I think Damien would call this temps perdu. So like delayed, like basically he's just half tempo ahead of Sam there, and he just catches him off guard.
yeah, this is the appel lunge that I love so much. So in Saber, one of the things I try to teach my kids to do a lot is set up their actions with this appel before you go. And it's very disruptive because a lot of the time it just looks like you're advancing, but if you do a quick lunge after it, it
Right.
comes, like you said, half a tempo before it's expected.
Right.
So you need to understand when you're supposed to use that. But I think honestly, Sam could be doing this really well when he's being pressured from close distance, that kind of like half
Yeah,
tempo appel lunge or a tempo and a half appel lunge.
yeah, or even just the half tempos to confuse more. So if you go back one more time, yeah. So as Elsayed finishes his kind of jump, he starts and Sam's back leg is moving and his front leg hasn't started yet. So he's just like that half tempo behind. It's just a gutsy, like, I'm gonna take over and see if I have the speed. And I think the calculated risk there, and I've done this before, is I know I'm up by one. I know the bout's pretty close and not super uncomfortable. If I get another touch ahead, I'm in even way better. Two touches is so much different than one.
Also,
And I,
look at this body position and the angle.
yeah, it's I mean it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. I'm with you. But tactically speaking, now he's up 7-5 on a relatively, I think he feels a relatively low risk action.
Yeah. If you
Uh,
miss that, it's going to be hard to punish for it. You could theoretically get a quick counterattack out, but that's hard to do.
Hard when it's that surprising. Yeah, I completely agree. So now let's say it's going to sit back because he knows he's got to get challenged, but he's doing so much more body feinting now, right? So credit to Sam, right?
Especially the
Let's
whole
say he got
time.
there. He got a little cocky and said, "I'm going to sit back now. You can't hit me." And that is not how that's going to go, right? Sam is extremely good at one tempo strong attacks. He was too far on that first one, but the second one, he just decides to commit. And Elsayed doesn't have the space at the end of the strip to really do enough. He makes the same mistake Sam made before.
And
That's
this is
just
the first time he's hit him clean through the parry. Is that right?
yeah, it's just beautiful timing. Essentially, he catches a half tempo before the parry is happening. It's just
Hmm.
too. And it looks like Elsayed thought counter and then decided to go parry. You don't have that time at that distance, right? He didn't commit to one or the other, right? So Sam starts to
Yes,
slip.
it
Yeah.
looked like perhaps the same kind of second intention ideas before, but from a little bit too close this time, perhaps.
I think the difference here is that Sam started the action. When you do second intention, you want to be the one starting the action and baiting. But
Mm,
Sam decided when to go. He didn't react when to go. So Sam's going and then he's trying to do second intention. It's too late. That's
gotcha.
that half tempo is too much. So that's what I was talking about control of the bout. You want to be the one deciding when things happen as opposed to being the one reacting to when things happen, ideally.
I completely agree. I think that the more you're initiating, the better you're going to do in general, because in fencing, when you initiate an action, you have a split second advantage. And
Yep.
in a sport where you're fighting for milliseconds, that split second means a lot, especially in something like epee, where the timing is what, 40 milliseconds?
Yeah, I can't remember, but yeah, short.
It's very
And
short, exactly.
more for developing fences too, the more you do, even if you get hit, let's say in practice, right? The more you're doing, the more chances your brain is having to see things happen and try things, right? If you're just sitting scared, you never really develop that. Some people ask me like, how do you know when to move or what to do? I just start going, right? And most of us just start going with the general plan, and things develop from that because between you doing something and someone else doing something, something happens.
Hmm.
If you never do, and in practice you're going to get hit, who cares, right? If you never do, then nothing will ever develop and you never get that sense. And then you get to a tournament and you're like,
What am I
right?
supposed to be doing right now?
You can't fence on premeditated actions only. You can have some, but there needs to be this kind of distance management and feel, which both of them do really, really well.
Yeah, for sure. That was quick.
That I think is Elsayed restaking his claim and saying, no, no, I'm
You're
not
not
going
going
to
to
sit.
push me here.
I'm gonna go. I think he's hoping for a lucky one, but he knows he's pretty likely to get a double here and he's okay with it.
It also looks like he's showing that he's going to shoot the foot and then perhaps anticipating Sam going backwards. Look, there's the foot feint.
Yeah, that's a great call. I actually did not notice, and that's an absolutely good call. And I think he knows if he goes this committed, he's probably going to get a double. And he just got hit on his end, and he doesn't want Sam to get any confidence going forwards. He knows that's not where he wants to be. So this is very tactical, in my opinion. I don't think he's thinking he's going to get a single light. I think he thinks if I do, awesome. If I don't, I'm pretty sure I'll double it.
I have a touch to play with. I want to show him he's not going to just keep pushing me like that.
And Sam hasn't shown a parry really. So
No, he
if
is
the counter
not.
and if the counter is all you're doing, then if I go and you go, like if I'm the one initiating, you'll probably at least double it.
I think the only time Sam has showed any sort of parry action was the first time Elsayed went for his foot. He tried, like you said, a high parry. I think it was a four or something, and it just wasn't even close because it was low target he was going for.
Exactly.
And Elsayed's pushing again a lot more than he was a second ago.
Yeah, he's like, I tried one back at the end of the strip. I don't like it. I'm gonna sit forward. I'm gonna come forward. He is daring Sam a little bit, and that was close.
Yes, it
So
was.
he,
Another perhaps foot feint. Yep.
yeah, low line, at least low line. That wasn't very committed though, which is why I don't think he got any kind of real reaction out of it. It was kind of he was always gonna flush straight there. Um, like that's not really threatening. I think he starts up right away.
That's almost more like the McDowell
Yep.
off tempo flush that he does.
That's exactly what it is. It's just to break the tempo a little bit, but he's coming out with the arm the whole time.
Yep.
But again, he's just trying to impose his will. I think he's just trying to push. Because he's not getting challenged. I think personally he's not getting challenged enough, and he feels very confident here. It's fun to talk about this, not actually being in the bout, by the way, because in the bout it's so much harder to do. And Elsayed, by the way, doesn't do half steps a lot. He does very small hops. It's much more of like a small forward kind of a
Oh
thing.
my God.
Yeah,
Watch that sequence again.
we can absolutely. It's super intimidating when you're on the receiving end of that. So that if you pause, hold on, a lot just happened. That body feint is meant to get you to go, and then he is already counterattacking whether you go or not. So he's definitely going to get it if you do go,
Yep.
right? That if Sam had gone, he'd be impaled. And then immediately after, he lets you relax. Boom, goes for your foot. So Sam is on the back foot right now, and Elsayed's so bent over that he can't get the counter. That Sam can't get the counter on him. He's a little lucky there.
That's the first time he's even had the time to actually go for a counterattack straight to the foot. And he's definitely more aware of it. You know that because when Elsayed is doing the foot feint, he has been counterattacking into it, not for one light, but for two. But this is the first time Elsayed's actually gone for the foot that Sam has had the time to counterattack him.
Agreed.
So it's definitely something that he's far more focused on at this point.
Like he has to. He has no choice. And then Elsayed goes right after. I don't know how no light goes off there, but he's basically pressure. Remise. You have no downtime. I'm gonna go.
Did you watch the final of this tournament?
I didn't yet actually. It's queued up for me, but
Okay, because this is something I actually noticed Kanish doing a lot. That I think he noticed that El Sayed likes to remise after going for the foot. So he goes for the foot, then he immediately goes right here. And
yeah,
in the final, Kanish a couple times avoided the foot touch, then immediately parried the remise to the body afterwards.
yeah. This is where I think parries are good. So Sam's not. I don't know him well enough, and I'm certainly saying nothing negative whatsoever. But I haven't seen a parry yet, and this is where you do. It is helpful to have some of that game as well because if you're just straight action versus straight action, it's going to become predictable, especially if Elsa is in control.
Whenever you lose options, your game becomes less complex. And something
Exactly.
that you noted before is that Al Sayed is showing that he's got a lot of stuff available. And when you're trying to figure out how to stop an incoming attack and you know that all of those options are available, it really makes you think about a lot more and it makes the strategy dealing with that a lot more difficult. But if you know that the person is not ever parrying, it takes a whole level of complexity out of the game. You don't have to think about the disengages or the line that you're coming into at all because it's just the target that's available to you.
Yeah, and I think some of this is still bout management, where Sam's game, from what I've seen, and again, I'm by no means an expert on him, but from what I've seen, relies on very tight adjustments in distance and very good timing. So if he's not in control of the bout, it's hard to fall back on a lot, even if it's extremely well done. I mean, this is a bronze medalist of the Olympics, right? This is a very good opponent. And there is a sand. So I'm not. The flesh looks a little weird from sand there. It's not fully committed. It goes more up than forward.
Yep.
He loses a good 2 or 3 inches there going up, and I think that's because he's not really sure of what he wants to do. So it ends up kind of in a mishmash. And Elsayed has basically body feinted and pulled distance, and that's just yeah.
Something my coach taught me in Saber is that when you're doing a step in counterattack, almost like I think of it very similarly to the flesh. He said that you want your front arm to have exactly the same angle as your back leg. And I've
Mm,
always measured the effectiveness of a flesh based on that. And if you look at here, they're almost at a 90-degree angle to each other. So you're not getting a ton of relevant push. Like if he
Yeah.
wants to go the direction his arm is going, that's not happening because his back leg is pushing him up.
Actually, I would argue his front leg. So this is so we haven't talked about my expertise, but I have a doctoral degree in movement science too, right? So the biomechanics of this, I mean, his front leg, as opposed to pushing forward, his weight starts in a vertical direction, so a lot of the push is going to go vertical.
Hmm.
Uh, but I think, it's not that he doesn't know how to flesh. I think this is what happens when you're not sure exactly what you want to do, and he's kind of like somewhere, you end up somewhere in between.
Could
And
also be that the distance is so close he feels like he can't just purely go straight in.
No, so I would argue he should, if the distance is close, he should go straight in. I think he knows. The problem is that he knows that Elsayed could pull distance, and he's not sure whether this is a real moment or a fake moment. And he's felt so pressured that I think he just ends up saying, I gotta go. And that's what Elsayed wants here, right? Body feint and then counterattack with a distance pull as someone's going. So basically, it's just a second intention counterattack, are really good. And so you can argue about how many tempos are here. I don't really know, right? It's so much preparation that goes into that with the feet from with the arm from Elsayed. But he's basically just finally gotten. He hasn't gotten a clean one of these. He's finally gotten a clean distance pull counter, and gotten Sam to trigger at the wrong time.
I
And
also
that's
I also really like after the situation, there's that little casual walk back into distance to reestablish everything.
yeah, he's not scared. Yep. And some of that is gamesmanship, and some of that is literally him not being scared here. So he knows he could get hit, but he's comfortable enough. So this is, I think, why you get a fist bump from Elsayed, because he's like, that was all me. You fell for it. That was all me. And that's a confidence boost for sure.
And it's a two-touch difference getting into the latter third of the bout.
So now he feels real comfortable, I think. And we're going to see him take control a little bit more.
These are the little
So,
subtle distance adjustments I was talking about.
yep, I agree. But this is where I think Sam would need to push more, and he's just not sure.
There's that remise from the foot touch.
Right, and but it's all initiated from Elsayed, so he's comfortable. I wouldn't pause it because I think that was a more simple touch.
I really like just I wanted to talk about this little thing where Elsayed does a little fake, I think it's right, here, and Sam moves back just enough that if he went, he thinks he can deal with the pressure that he's putting on him. And then,
Yeah,
but not too much, and is right back into a threatening distance. And that happens a couple of times here.
yeah, it's all about a lot of epee. I mean, it's all of fencing is about which feints do you react to and how much. And I'll take a hit sometimes to not react, just to kind of see how my opponent reacts if I don't react. Right? I want to
And,
see what real and what
and
feints
right
aren't.
here, look, there's no reaction to this almost at all.
Right? Yeah, because he hasn't hit him on one of those, so he's like, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to buy into your situation. But this is all initiated by Elsayed. And so he's got control. And again, there's no parry. He's not scared of a parry there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, all push, all push. So he'll take a double here, right? It's all he pushes him to the end of the strip, and he's like, "I'll take all your distance. I know you have to go."
Mm-hmm.
And I think forget if we get to a break again or not. I don't think we do here.
Doesn't seem
Um,
likely.
no, it doesn't. So yeah, Sam's coach is yelling in the background like, "Push more, push more." So Sam tried, but basically Elsayed just thrown out full on praying mantis style full attacks to keep him at bay, right? He's like, you can't come close. So he knows Sam has to push, and he's just full first intention actions to kind of keep him at bay. Because Sam can't afford to double, really.
I kind of, again, I love the distance stuff that's happening here where each of them is faking the other and each of them is just kind of reacting like a little bit away,
Yep, I agree.
a little bit away. Now I go a little bit away back. They're both doing it. And here again, that flesh after going to the foot.
Yep,
Sorry, remise after going to the foot.
I know what you mean. Yeah. So just full control at this point, I think. And he knows Sam can't afford a double. So this is bout management.
Yes, it
And
is.
it's
This is a very good time to take a break.
It was, he arguably should have done it a touch before because 13-10 is rough in this position. But yes, this is good bout management. We've all done it. We've all also gotten annoyed when someone else did it, but we've all done it, right?
Huh?
I need a moment. I need to switch my blade. I need something to change so that I can kind of reset. So I don't really I fault people for this in bout because I get annoyed, but I don't actually fault anyone for this in reality because it's very normal management.
One
Now,
of one of the funniest moments I had as a coach, it was the first year I was really like coaching full time, and I was at a NAC, and one of my kids was way ahead, and his opponent I think scored like five in a row to tie it up. And I said to him, tie your shoe. And he looks down and he goes, my shoe's not untied, and just gets back on guard. I was like, I'm going to kill you. Like it's not about
now,
how untied your shoe is, you goon.
and I say this is hilarious. Counter gamesmanship. I don't know if the ref did this or if SA had asked for it, but guess what? Your other blade was too bent, so
We'll
this
make
one's
sure,
probably too bent too.
we'll make sure that this one's not too bent, even if it takes a really long time.
I actually don't remember if Elsayed had asked for that or if the referee did it of his own volition, but it's that kind of. I mean, it's a longer break, so arguably it's good for Sam, but
A
it's
good
definitely
excuse.
yeah. But it's a little bit. I don't know if he wanted that to be dealt with again. Luckily, it was dealt with pretty quickly, so I don't think it's a big deal.
Yep. So much of it's about attitude, right? Like you can, oh my God.
Yeah. So after a long break, right? Elsa. So pause for a second. If I'm El Sayed, I'm thinking I'm up 13-10. I've gotten some first intention actions. I have a longer distance to play with, and Sam has just cooled himself down a little bit, right? So honestly, you can afford to get hit off of this because you even if you get hit doing this, you've sent another message like I'm not afraid of you. So best case scenario, you hit and you're up 14-10. Worst case scenario, you get hit and you're still up 13-11, and the other guy still has to be scared of you a little bit, right?
And
And
with
you
three
need to.
judges to play with, you can totally take a risk.
And the key is in epee, there's no right of way. You need a second intention action here, or you need a very clear, like you need a one light. There's no right of way to fall back on, so to speak, right?
Hmm.
There's very open. So I think this is brilliant from El Sayed. You can run it, obviously, but just guess what? You're too close. Bam.
And there's that appel lunge again. Appel lunge.
Yeah, it's just that's brutal. Just really good distance management and bout management by El Sayed there. Just off the line. And I think it's again, so Sam has cooled his heart rate down probably a little bit and kind of refocused, but it's hard to ramp back up also a little bit, right? So it's just catching that moment right off the line. It's smart, very
It
smart.
is.
So Sam is really trying to show counters, but he's not in control here, right? The distance is all El Sayed. All body feints, all making you unsure when to go.
I remember correctly, there's an interesting situation coming up with Sam's arm, where Elsayed's threatening him and Sam is pulling the arm back just enough to avoid hits. Right here.
Yep. Yeah, well, Sam is baiting him in a little bit there, but yeah, you can rewind that action, but that's here. It's honestly just Elsayed being in control, and he goes short target, I believe, on the remise here instead of going deeper because Sam is giving him longer distance. He's like, oh, I can't get deeper, so I'm gonna have to go short because Sam's baiting him with that, right? He's hoping that he'll come in and he can straight counter to the attack.
Yeah,
And
that
honestly,
that
it's
foot
discipline
to upper
there.
body hit has been murdering him in this bout.
And if you could measure the distance between the tip and El Sayed's shoulder there, that is beautiful distance management from El Sayed. And I can't tell where he hit, but I'm pretty sure it's at least closer in here as opposed to deep.
Yeah, we can't quite see it. That's very close, but
Now Sam is overcommitted and stuck. And so Ramiz is gonna, especially, I'm trying to look for the trajectory. Yeah, I mean it's yeah, I think it's like right around here. There's essentially not that's one part of your arm that doesn't really move. So it's there, and I'll say it knows it's there. It's
yep.
just really management. But I mean, it's a great bout by Sam too. It's a high level bout between a bronze medalist at the Olympics and our top fencer in the U.S. It's fun to watch, And I think the Egyptians play with distance management and just constant pressure really, 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 really well in a different way from a lot of really any other nation that I've seen. And it's just impressive. It's good.
I agree.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on the bout beyond that about either the tactics or the gamesmanship or the distance management, anything?
I think they both do distance management. I just think it's fascinating how differently they do it. Sam's are much smaller little adjustments and kind of like baiting or baiting in a small way, and Elsayed's are much more overt, but in that way a lot more off-putting too. It's really like off-putting is one of the ways I describe it. Roman Canon, if you think of another French gripper, is just like purely technically like float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, just in and out, and in no way predictable, but very, very, very solid and grounded.
Someone
Um,
described him once to me as a marionette fencer. It's almost like someone is like
yep.
puppeteering him as he moves around.
Elsayed is almost more violent in a way, but it's his movements that are, and they're that way in order to basically provoke reactions. And the
Hmm.
game's that too. It's all about being in control and provoking reactions. I think if Sam had been able to kind of impose a little bit more will in the middle of the strip and kind of take control a little bit more, it would have been much harder. But once the confidence is there for Elsayed and he's up one or two touches, really hard to do anything. I also haven't watched enough of Sam's bouts, but if he could get a little bit more blade actions as at least a backup, I think it would be he'd have a little bit more options. I could be totally wrong, and he's great at it. I don't know, but um, you know
Regardless of whether he's good at it or not, it was not something that was a factor in this bout.
exactly, yeah. So I think really interesting about to watch and really good example of like bout and distance management. Yeah,
I'm also from the perspective of just how interesting the tactics and the style are from each of those guys. I would be
yeah,
very happy if a whole generation of baby fencers wanted to emulate those two because they're very proactive. They're both trying to make something happen. They're both doing their own thing. And I think that's way more interesting than someone who just camps the back line and just waits for someone to come to them.
yeah. And I will say, I mean, I've been fencing the young guys coming back, and I'm getting my ass handed to me, right? And it's because people are very, very active and have a very good feel, and it's definitely a very nice way that fencing is going. Not that we didn't do that before, but it's much more unforgiving and much more active, and it's a lot more work.
I think
Um,
in a lot of ways, it's based on who is successful because when you're first coming up, you see someone who's successful, not necessarily someone who's interesting, and you want to emulate that style because those people are doing well. And so I think it's partially because of who was doing well when when your generation was coming up, as opposed to this generation that's coming up.
so yeah, I think interesting bout and very cool to see. I'm curious to see what'll happen in the future. I'm sure there'll be many more bouts between them. So.